I've been a part of the whole linear game for just about the entirety of my journey in the custom keyboard hobby. While I have tried some of the premium heavy tactiles like the U4Ts and Dark Sunflower, they could never really replace the smooth press of a linear switch to me, especially coming from cheap rounds in a pre-built when first joining the hobby. I thought that for me it was go big or go home with tactiles, and that I wouldn't really like a light or medium tactile, but oh boy was I wrong. Today we're going to be taking a look at three things: the Naevy R1.5s, which are to be updated, and the cotton candies. Oh, and the third? Well, of course, that's the segue to our sponsor, PCBWay. PCBWay is a company that specializes in just about everything custom. Yes, custom keyboards included. Prototype your own one-off keyboard with their CNC machining services, or make just about anything with their 3D printing, sheet metal fabrication, injection molding, or custom PCB services, all at competitive prices. If you're interested, check out PCBWay in the description. Also, one quick plug, I did just announce my Discord server, which you're free to join if you like. I try to be pretty active there, and there might be some special events in the future happening there, so I would highly recommend you join. Alright, let's get into the video. Let's start off with the Naevies. These are a 3-pin cherry style switch manufactured by Tactile, believe it or not, and also have a polycarbonate top, nylon bottom, and a special PME material, long pole stem, which leads to an interesting feeling. These switches are normally 65 cents a switch, but I got them on sale from Canon Keys for about half off, which honestly is an insane deal for what you're getting. Like I mentioned, these are the 1.5 variants, and basically they're going to be replaced with updated 2.0 variants sooner or later, so if you're looking to buy them, then it might be worth waiting to see how good the R2 variants are. The cotton candies are a 5-pin cherry style switch manufactured by JWK. They have a nylon top and bottom housing with a palm stem. These switches are also 65 cents a switch and are exclusive to Lube Switches, a vendor and an affiliate of our channel, which you can check out in the description. I got these lubed and filmed from Lube Switches, so huge thanks for that, and you can too as long as you're willing to pay about twice the price for it. Let's have a quick comparison between the tactility of the two. The Naevy has just about no pre-travel before the bump, and a little bit of post-travel after. Feels like a debump when actually typing on them. The cotton candies on the other hand have a very tiny bit of pre-travel, as you see here, with a more sharp but still light tactile bump, and then again some linear post-travel. Comparing the two, it seems that the cotton candies are actually slightly heavier than the Naevies, which isn't what I expected at all. I heard that the Naevy is more of a medium bump tactile, and the cotton candies are a light tactile, but I guess not. One thing to note though, is that I did lube the legs of the Naevies, and the legs of the cotton candies were not lubed, but to prove that it's still heavier than the Naevies, here's stock Naevy versus a cotton candy. Interesting. Stock, the Naevies have a weird feeling scratch when pressing off-center coming from the special PME stem, which isn't very noticeable in normal typing. It is pretty noticeable while gaming or just lightly pressing. It doesn't really feel like scratch, more like when you rub your finger really hard against your desk to create friction. Pretty hard to explain. They also come with a light amount of lube on the stem legs, which is probably contributing to them having a light bump. And the springs seem to be lubed as well, since there's basically no spring ping stock, so I didn't at all feel the need to lube the springs of these. Once lubed, this weird feeling of the stem is completely fixed, and they become pretty smooth. I wouldn't call them the smoothest switches by any means, but they're good enough for me, and honestly I kind of enjoy the slight scratch, mainly in the sound of them. They have this very pleasant, audible scratch when pressing them, and have a pretty soft bottom out as well. I can't really speak for the stock experience for the cotton candies, as I got them pre-lubed and filmed, but I can say that they're pretty great feeling lubed. These are a bit smoother than the Naevies, and have a much smoother sound overall, if that makes any sense. They're a bit louder than the Naevies and have more of a clack to me. No point in talking about the sound though, so here's a sound test of both switches. I'm going to be using a Fast 60 R2 with an FR4 plate for the sound test, which if you're interested, I also have a review on this board that you can check out. Honestly, both sound great and are pretty unique. Just like I said, Naevies have a slight scratch and a pretty soft sound, but as for the cotton candies, they have more of a loud clack, and not as much of an auto scratch, though they have this slight ticking noise on some of them, just like my Durox Sunflowers, which you can check out my review on here. Basically, right after the Tactile event ends, there's a bit of the tick noise. It's not nearly as bad to me as when it was on the Durox Sunflowers, and honestly it doesn't bother me too much as it kind of blends in with the clack of the board and the switches. But it is still there and I really wish it wasn't. Some have it very noticeable and kind of loud, and some don't have it at all, and I don't think it's the films, as I tested without film and there was still that slight ticking. I haven't heard anyone talk about this, so maybe it's just an issue with mine, or maybe my ears are a bit more sensitive and you won't notice it at all or care, and that's perfectly fine. I just thought it'd be worth mentioning. Both of these switches have great tolerances and are basically identical tolerance wise during normal typing, though technically I'd have to give the edge to the Naevies, especially since they don't need films at all. Overall, I really love both of these switches and are both some of my favorite I've ever tried. You really can't go wrong with either. Personally, I'd have to give the win to the Naevies. Just something about that soft sound I really love, even though I personally prefer the feeling of the Continentals a tiny bit more than the Naevies. Both feel great though and are very close competitors for me. So with that, I guess I have officially been converted to light tactile gang, which only means one thing.